No.
Biggest croc I've ever seen in my life was in the Mitchell River.
Yeah.
There's still just as many freshwater crocs as what there was there. When we did the trip, like, I mean, they were very, very numerous, weren't they?
Yeah.
You know? But there's a lot more saltwater crocs now. And I think if we do another trip, it'll be
Hovercraft. We didn't have any vehicle backup or anything. We had to make sure we had everything we needed for the whole 3 weeks on the water, that was the hardest part, wasn't it? Working out how much of everything you'd need for 10 men and a boy. That barra every night, eh?
almost, yeah.
We got sick of the sight of barramundi. Well, pretty well one of the major things that caused friction, if there was, for the little friction that there was over lack of tobacco, wasn't it? People starting to try and give up.
There was quite a bit of friction for the lack of sugar too.
Lack of sugar?
Yeah.
Like that ran out, that was
Especially around meal time.
Yeah.
Cup of tea time.
I was born in Innisfail, just up the road, but I've lived in Tully all my life and grew up on a cane farm just in the middle of the valley, just down here. I like the outdoors, see? And I always liked trees, and I thought, I went to a farm that inspired me. Mick and Jean Thompson had a farm, they were South Africans up the road. Good set out orchard, and I could see they were making mega bucks out of breaking the mould and doing something different. Again, people said, no, you want to what? You want to grow fruit? You want to do what? You grow cane, bananas or cattle in this area, this is what you do. And I copped a lot of criticism from a lot of people, and as I say now, I know that if people say you're nuts or you're on the wrong track, you're probably on the right track. So we've done really well, it's a great industry. I'm really rapt to see my son-in-law and daughter, Sky and Warren and Sky, taking over and continue on, and my grandkids might do something with it too, because you do things right, as you do, and do it to your best ability, skillfully, the possibility's endless, eh? Well, I met Alison at the Bowen as the barracks, where it was the centre of the universe for Tully, really. That's where we planned a lot of trips and did our thing and poured over maps, and as we just saw the photos, the tuss on the wall, I asked her, I said, we're going camping on Boxing Day, do you want to come for a trip? She was pretty hot that, so I was sort of, I was pretty much out of my depth. But anyway, she said yes, and she forgot her ground sheet, and I shared mine, and the rest is history.
Oh, okay.
These are not the best rambutan you'll ever taste. They'll only get better from here, Dan, but
It tastes yummy.
they should have a drop of juice in them when you peel them.
Mm.
Anyway, more depth of flavour.
First taste of a rambutan?
Mm. Yum.
I was very nervous for a very long time, and still am, from anyone walking behind me with a sharp shit. 16 at the time, so I must have been in grade 11, and we decided, my cousin or second cousin was up from Brisbane with his family, and we decided to climb Mount Mackay, which is the biggest mountain in this valley here, just back behind me sort of thing over there. And I just sharpened Peter Brown's cane knife, so it was nice and sharp, because you use a cane knife to cut. We were cutting our own track, there's no track there. So we're cutting ourselves our way through vines and stuff like that. I felt this whip, just this, like a stick, just whipping me across the back of the leg, and I went to take a step on my left leg, and I didn't step. Nothing happened. So I looked back and I see the two bits of the muscle that sort of where he'd cut it just turned out like that straight away. And at the same time he yelled out, Dad, Dad, because his old man was there, yelled out, Dad, Dad, look what I've done. And I'm thinking, wow, this is what he's done. So he'd hit me back in the back of the leg with a cane knife, just a city boy following too close behind me. We put a tourniquet on it and we wrapped it up to try and stop the bleeding, and so it was a fair haul back, and they got home and raised the alarm to the volunteer ambulance, because there's no choppers and that in those days, and they got up there at 1 o'clock in the morning in the dark with old dolphin torches. They cut their way or found our track and kept checking the tourniquet, and they'd covered me, buried me in leaves, because I was starting to shiver to death just lying there, you know. Pretty amazing to see their lights coming through the bush, eh? But I still remember when the ambos, just in the torchlight, they said, oh, let's have a look at this. Took it off and he just sort of, whoops. You could see him he sort of took a backward step. They had a blow-up splint sort of thing for broken bones. So they bandaged it up and put this blow-up splint on it to keep everything in place. Ended up piggybacking me, just on the bloke's back.
Crikey.
And rock hopping all the way down.
All the way, and you had to hold on.
Yeah, a bloke by the name of Alf McDonald, who's still alive, amazingly tough man, eh?
Wow, he carried you.
He carried me the bulk of the way, rock hopping and everything. But they got me down. I still remember we just come out, when we got out of the scrub, they put me on a stretcher then and took me to the ambulance that was waiting there, and it was Mother's Day. And sorry, mate.
No, you're right, Pete. You're good, mate. You're good. Triggering memories, mate. That's what happens, eh? It was Mother's Day.
Yeah. To me, it was just an adventure, and I sort of just, you're doing it. You're 16, but seeing the joy on Mum's face.
Yeah. She was there, eh? Unreal.
Yeah.
Man.
Little wild bastards, eh? Colour, but yeah, there. We formed it in 1977, Tully Bow Hunters. A bloke by the name of Graham Foster from Cairns was down, and there was a Cairns club, and he said, you blokes are all hunting and you've got a good group, you should form an official club. So we did. I was a founding member. Our logo, which is a recurve bow, and boar. We mainly hunted pigs, and it's a boar's skull, and tied it into that, yeah. Pigs are a major pest if they're let run wild in cane. They just chew it, and they'll get into the middle of a block, and they can decimate the middle of a block without the farmer even knowing they're in there. This is our permanent pig trap, which is the best design we've worked out over a fair few years of trying to fine tune it. You put food every night, roughly the amount that the pigs can eat, depending on how big the mob is, and bring it, say, a couple of metres closer every night until I bring it in. I'll bring it into here, and then get it inside so they're used to feeding, and then in there is a trigger. We disarm the trap permanently. It's locked up now with chains. It can't be triggered, but they play with the trigger every night eating, and then when it suits us, normally on a Friday night, I will arm it so it's ready to trigger, and hopefully they'll just all come in as per usual. They'll trigger it, and the next morning they're there. And our process is, I've already let friends and neighbours know that we've got pigs on. If it's a big mob, we'll come and shoot them humanely with a 22. We have the hot water already going in a bathtub at 70 degrees, and we scald them and dehair them, debristle them, and hang them in the cold room for a week, and then bandsaw them all up and share the meat around.
Don't forget my sunburned lip.
That's your sunburnt lip, but it wasn't your lip that was the main problem, was it? You wore pants all the time after that, didn't you?
The ultimate appeal when we first started going up the Cape, firstly was when we saw the good tusks that came back and the quality and the length of the grinds and all that, as bow hunters of the time. But once we got up there, it's the sunsets and the magnetic anthills and the smells of the salt flats and the long days. It just gets in your blood. The Cape gets in your blood after a while. We saw some massive crocs in 78, and they sort of kept their distance. We saw sharks and stingrays and everything, but we did see some big crocs, and we just sort of thought, well, they're here. We knew that was their environment as well. If you fell in the wrong place, you're tempting fate, really. There was a case on Lakefield, I'm not sure how many years ago, there was a bloke in a canoe or a kayak, and it dragged him out of the canoe. He was seeing it, but it ate him. It pulled him out of the canoe and ate him. We were all pretty young. I was only 24 then. 21 days, I think, on the water. Ate barramundi virtually every night. We just took a bit of brown rice, bag of brown rice, a bit of sugar, a bit of flour. So we lived pretty rough. We walked into Dunbar Station and old Danny Bird was in there and he said, "Oh, baggers," like old swaggies walking in. We wanted a bit of flour, a bit of sugar and any corned beef because we were crazy for beef then. And he gave us some salt beef that looked like a lump of firewood. He said, "Just put that in the water, and boil it up." It was unbelievable, eh? And then when we got to the far end, we were really lucky. We were down in the magnificent creek. We came back up and there were some people from Canoe, and they were luckily fishing down there because otherwise we had about a 25k walk or something from where we were into town, all sorted out. And they did some demonstration archery shots and showed people videos and stuff while we were there. And three of us, Rolly, Willie Niebling and I, flew back on the old DC3 from Canoe to Cairns and come back and got our vehicles and went back and picked the boys up in the canoes.
You used to take Ben up, your son, to Cape York hunting
Yeah.
from a young age?
He was probably only 4 or 5 when he first started to go with us because he obviously could swim, otherwise we wouldn't have risked it. But he showed interest, and he used to see us practicing and he saw us talking about poring over maps. He would have seen us as a little kid getting ready for hunts. We'd be walking ahead and he'd lag back a bit because he was just too physically small to catch up. The grass would nearly be over his head, but he never gave up. He'd always sort of keep there. Like, he's very determined and he's skillful tactically. Like, if he sees an animal, he knows the way to get in on it, and he was very good from an early age. Wow, that is just a freak because it's got dark red hair. Its hackles seem to be perpetually up. Good set of hooks, and it just had a stance like as if to say, "Look out." And that was one too that Ben was, I sort of thought, I don't know if I should let him go near this pig.
If there was ever a pig, not that one.
It would have been something that you expect out of one of the funny sci-fi movies that just blows up into a demon sort of thing. You know? Like, it just had that attitude about it. But anyway, sure enough, he walked across the lagoon and got the wind right and nailed it, luckily cleanly, and it went down. But I've still to this day never seen another pig like that. You go together, you camp together, you eat together, you hunt together.